Gail said she figured it out. So I think I know. So she did another thing, and then it's been live for 15 seconds. This one. Wipe the camera off. No, for real. That's what Greg said. Wipe the camera off. But it's black though, or like it have that ticker thing. I wonder if people could hear us.
They can.
That'd be cool though. Be like a Blackbird type thing. If they actually could hear us, but they only see this
There
like.
you go. Now it's.
Oh, now you could see us.
Behind the scenes.
You can see it?
What you mean? I don't even know what the name like.
Oh, log on to
what is the link?
Facebook. Okay, all right, log on to Facebook.
All right. Welcome. Is this on? I don't. Yeah, it is. This is the first episode we don't have Greg with us.
The sound
So
engineer.
we're trying to figure this out, ladies and gentlemen.
Grassroots.
But if you are hearing us,
Yes.
welcome to episode
44,
of
yeah.
the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. I'm Travis Miller.
Gail Hannah, and today in studio we have Diaz Curry, who actually was just outside, not really doing anything. So I told him, why don't you come and talk about entrepreneurship with us? And he was like, all right, cool. So here he is. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We
Good
attempt
be
to
here.
try with this show.
So Travis, today we have a hot topic today.
Asked a lot of people what people wanted to hear about. One of the suggestions I got from our good friend Tony Williams of Tony Williams Media is finding funding. So the whole premise of what he talked about essentially was that it would be cool if more avenues would be out there for artists, creatives who want to fund their own projects, like a filmmaker or artist, to have those platforms where they could find funding for those particular projects.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I thought that was cool because in
That
most
was a
cases,
different direction than what I thought.
funding was.
Yeah, but I thought
I
you
know.
were referring to, so
Aha.
that's cool.
So boom. And I kind of get that too. You have stuff like the Diagula Foundation that kind of gives funding or grants for different things. Life Key Foundation probably does grants and stuff too. But you need more of that for more creative outlets for people to do those things. But outside of that, what are the things that creators need to do not only to get prepared for finding funding, but what do you think the current avenues are or what we need in the next couple of years to do that?
Okay, so specifically we're talking about funding for creatives. That includes music, art,
Yeah. So
theater,
funding for
dance, creative projects.
Yeah, creative projects.
Okay, all right, cool. So basically, to start off, I feel like the most basic need is your pitch deck, which is Travis's area of expertise. Shameless plug.
She said it, I did it. Right.
So in your experience with the pitch deck, maybe you could explain pros or benefits to having a pitch deck for a creative person, or maybe how it can assist with getting funding. Now, I could start off by saying that we did, there was a creative person who was trying to get funding to go to an area in South Asia, I believe, right? And so, coming around, yeah, but I don't want to be too specific.
Okay.
I don't know if they weren't that out there.
But it was creative.
Yes, it was creative. It was not the typical whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then the whole concept is like you trying to get sponsorship or funding or whatever, right? So you have your little clipboard.
Yeah.
And your letter, like, oh, hi, please, yeah, and then you walk up to every person, like, please support this or whatever. And then, just as a side note, I find a lot of times that people don't support you until you're actually successful in some way, right? So you're approaching these people, you're trying to get funding, but you don't really have, like, you don't have something concrete
Semi-tangible
or something,
kind of
yeah,
setup.
to tell them, okay, like, yes, I would like your money. I've never done this before. And I find a lot of Bahamians are generally unwilling to support off the bat like that. They would rather, like once you have to prove yourself or something like that, and then all of a sudden you'll get the support that
Sell
you,
it.
yeah. So with the pitch deck,
Yeah.
we were able to create something that potential sponsors or funders would be able to see tangibly rather than a letter saying, this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. They got like some visuals, and they got some samples of past work, and they got some an explanation of exactly what they want done, etc. And I feel like that pitch deck, along with a mini video,
So they went
helped.
beyond that, though, like,
Yes,
okay.
my recommendation was the video because, again, you're coming with information for people to read. They see it like, da-da-da. So we did, and by we I mean TCG, did a video to assist with them getting funding so that the people will be able to see them in action, which is, as you know, video is one of the most effective mediums to use currently, and then see the information, what is it that you want, and then they were able to attain funding from that. So, yeah, pitch deck, I think, major thing,
And
major
so-
assistance.
And pitch decks can be very rigid if you have that structure of a traditional pitch deck where it's like 10 to 15 slides and you hit on the different things. That can be very effective. Some people may not have a pitch deck, or this may be the first time of you learning what that was. In any event, you still need an outline of what you what your main idea is, how you plan to execute on that, and what exactly that you're asking for. I think that's the 3 core things. Now you can get super creative and like do a video, or even do like an act if you wanted to, depending on what you're getting funding for. What are your thoughts? Any thoughts?
Well, I feel like from the jump, when it comes to people and trying to be creative, one of the major hurdles is that creatives I feel like they have a hard time marketing themselves. Even if they've found that they have confidence in their work and they have a fan base and whatnot, not all the time creators even believe that their work is good. So
That imposter syndrome type of.
exactly. So actually trying to put yourself out there to try to find the funding becomes even more difficult, because trying to find and accentuate the things that make you attractive to a potential buyer becomes more difficult when you can't find it within yourselves. So I feel like to streamline the process even more, you have to find a way to make people more confident and more
So that's like the pre-step. Even
Right.
before the funding
Before
thing
you
is
even-
like
Exactly.
confidence to sell.
To sell yourself,
in your own
essentially.
Right.
And if you don't, you should look into somehow attaining representation from somebody else, an agent or somebody that can
Could help
assist
you with
you.
that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's a good point.
They can also get lead generation and stuff like that.
Yeah, to help you find out who you need to approach to assist with that. Okay, so let's say you do a pitch deck, right? What's next?
Yeah, so after, let's say you get your ideas in order, what you want to convey, now is the next step is to find the people that you want to help potentially fund your project. And that's a next battle in itself.
Yeah.
So one of the core things you have to ask yourself, especially for those particular projects, you got to find people who are interested in exactly what you're interested in. I guess off the bat, a lot of people, they just try to pitch to any and anybody they could
Right,
find.
yeah. Or the typical, you have like a typical list of people or
Yeah.
sponsors
So I have
or...
this list. Let me go down this list. But
Yeah.
sometimes it takes, you may reduce your actual list of who you go to. But if that list reflects people who are already interested in your project, then you might, for the long term, have a better chance at actually connecting with people to get funding for those projects, instead of like trying to do a catch-all. You waste a lot of energy trying to talk to a lot of people, and you might run into people who sound very interested in your
Right.
project.
Oh, yeah.
But they ain't trying to cut no check whatsoever for you to work on your project. And then that as a weird cycle affects your confidence
Exactly.
for you to keep pushing back and trying to keep on the, because you're gonna get no's for whatever project that you work on, if you're in sales or anything like that, but it pays to stay consistent with that. But once you get those ducks in a row in terms of what you want to sell, now it's time to hit the pavement and do that.
Yeah.
What type of advice would you give people in terms of what they should do? Let's say that person next time now gets the meeting. Take us into what you think should happen in that
meeting.
in that meeting.
Well, before, I just want to touch on what you mentioned actually just now with how you determine who to approach. You could also look at going to networking events and other meetings and organizations that would kind of help you pinpoint exactly who you may need to be in the room with. Because again, as creatives, when you're interested in a certain like a certain medium, there are events that are happening that you can relate to, and people that are interested, like you say, in what you're doing. So if you kind of pursue that and put yourself in the room with those kinds of people, network as opposed to meeting Mr. Curry in the a cocktail reception or something like that. I'd be like, yeah, but I got this project and blah, 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 bombarding that person where they may not even, that might turn them off.
Like they had a rough day at work.
Right.
And there's like,
looking at you like, yeah.
What is this way talking to you? But no, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It pays, and it takes a little bit of research to do it as well. Like, if you're an artist and there's an event that's happening at the NAGB, not necessarily directed at what you're doing,
right.
Still go there and see who's there. You might rub shoulders with somebody and say, okay, let's set up this meeting or do this thing. They'll like to hear more about your project. Doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. But at least now you have of like mind and interest to say, hey, it was good seeing you at the gallery
the other day. Yeah,
it wasn't that piece I made. Like try to,
Yeah,
you have to get away from the key holder door relationship. You have to get to the point where they see your footprint in whatever medium that you're trying. You have to be, like you said, rub shoulders, rub elbows. You have to
visible.
be active in the community if you want to be a part of the community.
True. Yeah. So you
got a few comments.
Okay, I was going to ask if you pull it up.
We have a comment from Richie Goodman. Do we have a list of angel investors that are in the Bahamas? From what I know... What?
No, the thing, yeah.
From what I know, I don't know if there's any like localized list, but we actually... Someone, I think Marvin... actually asked this question last night to compile a list from different people to know about different startups or creatives doing stuff. But we need a localized central list of all those things to kind of start with. I think that would be a good start.
Yeah.
In the States, they have this website called Angel List. I'd like to see a Bahamian version of that for those different things to kind of tackle on.
Yeah, I think it's a catch-22 because you would like to put yourself out there or be known as an angel investor, but then at the same time when people find out,
you don't want everybody
with access to. But yeah, I agree. We do need a list of angel investors, and perhaps that's something that we can sort of look into. And we're not connected to the people that know who's investing. At least I'm not. Let me not say we're not. I'll speak for myself.
Who's really interested? Who the people are?
It's
really
like it's like 2 and 3 degrees of separation, especially as younger people, where the people that have that kind of cake, we may not have direct access to in some cases. So
one day, hopefully,
that's when you turn to situations like crowdsourcing, because I feel like the main the main positive of the internet and trying to sell yourself these days is the ability to ask a bunch of strangers, hey, I have this cool idea, this is the plans that I have to do it, do you want to fund this? Like like stuff like GoFundMe and other crowdsourcing stuff. Like they change the game when it comes to even not necessarily needing an angel list or anything like that.
And you'll be amazed who like random people supporting the most random things. Like I feel like a lot of times I've said to people, why don't you try GoFundMe? They're like, oh, I'm not begging.
No,
you know what I mean? Like Bahamians also have a very
pride
thing about that as well too.
I think it honestly depends on people use it for like a lot of different things.
Yes, they do.
Donations and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it really depends on the project. Like if you're actually trying to do a legitimate project, definitely use GoFundMe or Kickstarter, depending on the stuff. Now, if you're just asking to like buy a Labrador Retriever and you need this $1,500 bub, that's not really a project.
Right,
but that's the pro and cons of putting your stuff out there. It's like you got to really be genuine in what you're asking for. At the same time, too, when you're taking money either from a private investor or from the general public, you have to deliver on what you say you could deliver.
Right.
If you're trying to get funding for this project, 2 to 1, especially if there's some transaction going in terms of, okay, I'm going to give you this funding or help you do this. Most people do. I mean, some people do have the good of their heart just to see it happen, but other people have some type of expectation.
Want a return on their investment.
So it's always the next thing to keep that in mind in terms of outlining what you want to achieve. Also keep in mind what could you offer the people who are helping you on this journey for those particular projects.
Richie is saying the issue I have is Bahamas Venture Capital Fund doesn't do NDAs, which I assume is non-disclosure, right?
Non-disclosure.
That's a huge turn-off from potential investors. So, Richie, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that because I'm not personally familiar with the venture capital funds process. I don't know if any of you guys have information on that.
Yeah, everybody's process is like.
But if this is the case, that doesn't make sense to me because again, like the NDA is the most basic part of a contract.
It really is.
Personally, if we're working on something, well, even smaller funding too. Yeah, but even with my clients, if we discuss an idea, sign an NDA before you discuss it with them. So I don't, to say that or to know that they're not signing NDAs, that makes me uncomfortable, and I don't even have money. I don't even have the angel investor cake.
Very
That's the
interesting.
closest.
I'll honestly say, like, I really don't.
You don't care.
I don't care about, because I mean, there's so much. My philosophy always is like, there's so much ways to skin an idea.
Yeah, that's true.
Execute on the idea. But when it comes to actual like a business, that's a whole different thing. Like what I tell people is that if your business is in the infant stage or your idea for a project is in the infant stage, you need to have that dialogue and that conversation. But I will always recommend, if you are serious about taking it to the next level where you're getting proper funding, seek legal counsel if it goes to that
yes,
stage.
agreed.
But more times than that, it's still at the infant stage where you might have an idea and think it will work, but it may not actually
Work. Yeah.
So you really got to get that feedback from the general public, or at least the people you're trying to market to, in order to have that. It's, instead of saying like, oh, because I even been in situations where I talk to people as a developer and they put me in a room and it's like, oh, we want you to work on this project, but you got to sign this NDA first. It's like,
You have a problem with that?
no, it's like, well, I don't understand why. Like,
Oh.
Because it's a protection thing.
it's a protection. I mean, in most cases too, I'll be like, okay, whatever. But those projects that I've done that on never went anywhere else.
Well, I know somebody who sought funding. Sorry, I know somebody personally who sought funding from the Bahamas Venture Capital Fund, and they literally went through the ringer for the better part of 2 years for that. So stuff
Did
like that
someone
makes
else-
me, huh?
Did someone else execute on that project?
No, thank God, because NASA would have been burned down. But but when you have places like the Venture Capital Fund and you have situations where you see entrepreneurs trying to get funding for things that are now the ideas being fleshed out and it's actually a viable potential product, and then you have to jump through all these hoops and bring your aunt's birth certificate and
Right.
give
All-
a blood
all a
sample.
bunch of-
If I'm trying to get $100,000, why do I need to bring $30,000 to you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It all
Like,
depends on the different flavor. Like, but sometimes it's ridiculous. Like sometimes, like, yeah, we have $100,000, but you need like a Hyundai accent. Like it's a bunch. People are, when it comes to money and funding, and every right it is a very right. People get weird with their money, especially as the investor or the person asking for money. If I'm like,
But they get their money back.
they get their money back, or even, but there's no one burning down buildings to be
Buildings,
like,
right.
oh, I didn't get this thing.
Right.
They just accept that they didn't get it, and they get whatever minimum amount to do it. But if you're paying like $100,000 for a project, you better should tell like give me
it's
what you
exactly,
said you're gonna give me.
that's
And-
true.
And I think that's another thing that scares people into asking for that money as well, because again, it goes back to confidence. Because can I really execute on what I'm asking for? So
Well, and also you got to consider investors have heard it, or potential investors have heard it all before. So
Yeah, everything.
we were talking about should you get the meeting, what should you focus on or what should you bring to the table? That first 30 seconds or the elevator pitch, we've talked about pitch, and if you haven't been to pitch night, please add the Shift the Culture page and check out pitch night, where you can pitch your business idea and get immediate feedback from people to basically, everybody has that great idea. Everybody has a wonderful idea. Everybody's idea is, this is it.
Right.
I'm making money from this. And you could come to pitch night and then they could be like, so how does the business make money?
Yeah, and it was like, well, I'm weird that they don't get this.
Yes.
It really goes to Reddit.
Yeah, so okay,
Shameless plug,
so
by
the
the way.
pitch. The pitch, what should you include? Or you have a chance to sit down with somebody who has the potential to invest in your business. What do you include?
I think one of the biggest things in that is, in terms of especially the funding, is a timeline. Like,
Okay.
Okay, I need this money by
X date.
by X date in order to execute on this. And if you get into further talks about a return on investment, if it's like a business, then you see a investment in X amount of months. I mean, it's always a fine line target. Sometimes you have delays and stuff like that where you missed it. But timelines for needing to start it and timeline for when you're thinking about execution is key. If you're just asking about funding and then they ask you like, okay, so when you looking to do this or launch, and you don't have a semi-realistic number.
Well, true and right. Everyone do it by
Listen, man.
October.
Yeah.
But
Or be
my
like,
auntie having baby,
Or just
so
say like, I'll get it to you when I get it to you. No, that ain't gonna work.
you need to have
You
specific
need to have specific.
dates
Right.
are important.
Another thing, which is here, it really, what I've noticed, it really doesn't a lot of people don't ask for it, but I still do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Is that some people like to see the team more than they like to see the idea.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know like the people working on the like who are the subject matter experts that are working on this, and can they execute on those different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing, because that gives them a level of confidence to know
Right.
like you're doing that. So like,
Yeah.
let's say it's a creative project. Let's say it's filming or whatever. You have you show them who the director is, who's writing the script, all that stuff. They be
Mhm.
like, oh, this is actually going to be a very good story.
Right.
And their work that they've done, this is going to be amazing.
Mhm.
As an individual creative, you may not have a team to do that.
Right.
But at least
You can grab a few. I feel like, okay.
like an agent, or they're like, what is the person who's backing you for this particular project?
Yeah. Okay. And also I think with the pitch, or watching investment shows and stuff like that, people say that they invest more in the person than the actual idea, right? So if you're not coming with but you gotta come blazing. Like you gotta come like, if I don't do this, I could die.
Yeah.
And investors
Like, this is
or
this is
potential
my
people
dream.
can see, right? They can
Yeah.
see that in you. If they can see that passion, that drive, you're making steps. That's another thing too. I think you should include. What have you done so far? And if you haven't done anything, just go home, do something,
Right.
and come
Find
back
things to do and come
with
back with it.
something. Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing too, is that you never, especially if you're trying to pitch a project that you have a passion with, you may or may not have things that tie to that. You just have to pay attention to what you've done and how you could form it together to kind of show your expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may not have done this type of project ever, but at least you have the organizational skills, you have the managerial skills, the core fundamental things that you could do to execute this, or
Mhm.
know the team that you want to help you to do that. And that kind of gives, like, you put that together and say, look, I have this.
Mhm.
But don't go empty-handed
Right.
at all, period.
So you have a music project, right? You need funding for it. Like, what do you bring, or what do you think is like ideal core things that you would need to present?
When it comes to music, personally, I feel like, it's very difficult to get people to without even hearing anything. It's very difficult to get people even behind you. So
how do you sell then? What, like that's the crazy
you
thing.
have to give them free stuff. You have to take the hit for a while. You have to sacrifice. You have to give them content and let them know, like you said, you have to give up. You show them, this is what I've done so far. Believe in me. This is where I want to go. Otherwise, they have without a foundation to lay on. There's nothing for them to build up on top of you. You just giving them empty promises.
Do you find, like, with music, I think a thing that helps with that is like an evolution of the music.
Mhm.
Like if you look at like an artist when he first came out, whether the sound is raspy or whatever, compared to like now, like you get in
Some progression.
some progression in music. Does that help? You feel?
That's just the hours, though. It's like the 10,000 hours. The more you perfect the craft, the more you put the time into it, the more, because it evolves around you. It's not a static thing. Whatever medium that you're in, it evolves around you. So as long as you're being tapped into the medium, you're watching how it grows, you're gonna grow with it if you want to continue to be in it.
Yeah, and I think use social media for some reason that validates you as well. If people can look you up online and see, oh, he's been doing this since 2011. You haven't necessarily been posting, but your profile, just say it. Your profile was created then. Like if you just trying to, if you have a project in mind, like set it up so that when people look at it or try to find out more information about it, they have some reference point as well, especially on social media.
This whole thing to me, and it's been rattling around my head since we've been talking, is just centers around building trust. And it's so difficult to foster trust, especially in the business environment, when in the beginning when you don't really have that much to show people. Like you
selling a dream, which is technically lying in order to get to where
exactly,
you need to be.
and
you have to
you have
build
to
that
be a
trust
great
around
liar.
that. Yeah.
That's the problem. Like you have to, like your personality has to outshine your ideas.
Yeah.
That's the only way people get behind you.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so let's say you do a pitch, right? What's after that?
After you do the pitch, let's say you meet somebody who likes the idea, great.
Yeah.
Now the next step is the follow-up and the delivery.
Right.
So
I was going to say the follow-up.
The follow-up is key.
Yeah.
A lot of people
don't do the follow-up.
Don't do the follow-up. They go in this meeting, they ask for these dollars, and then they wait for them to, they wait for the people they ask for money to call them and ask them.
Levon,
no, my friend.
Sorry, Levon says Damon John is famous for investing in the person. Love him. Yeah.
Yes, he's good. His book is The Power of Broke, by the way. I haven't got to that yet, but
okay,
yeah.
so we got to check that out.
Damon John, for people who don't know his full name, he's a investor on Shark Tank. Started Fubu.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
the follow-up.
Key. That sometimes, again, going back to your point about you kind of have to sell a dream to do it. It's like as long as you're true to yourself, as cheesy as that sounds, they can see, okay, this kid has a passion. Obviously, he doesn't have that thing yet, but at least you know he is
worth investing
in. And then I think even then still, even though it may be a lie or whatever right then, they can see the truth somehow, some way in the future because they see the determination in you. And that's rare, few and far between, because some investors probably, even if they have a lot of money, they don't take the time to look at that. They just want that return.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important to find people and target specifically who you're wanting to get funding from. Because, and another thing about funding too is that people should stop looking at it more as a sponsorship and look at it as a partnership.
Exactly.
And I think that trips a lot of people, especially the connotation of sponsor is like you're just asking for something with no
thank you.
Like a thank you or nothing in return.
No
but
human
a partnership.
interaction.
Yes.
Especially now, if you frame that in a way where you now think of it that way when you go to approach somebody, you're going to have a relationship with that person, either after this project is done or longer term with continuing projects. How is what you're doing not only getting money from them, but how do you help them?
You can't treat them like a bank. You have to treat them like a human being.
Yeah. Develop that relationship.
Yeah.
So with the follow-up, okay, time frame.
Time frame, I usually follow up the day before. I mean the day after.
The day after.
Because I'll be going in a time machine. But the day after, and then usually
multi-talented.
and then a week after if I don't hear anything.
Okay, so day after follow-up. If you don't hear anything back, week after follow-up.
Yeah.
Do you stop following up at any point, do you think? In your opinion?
I don't think you necessarily follow. I mean, you get hints if you know where people feel or not. Sometimes, and it's a blessing to have those people who tell you straight up that they're not interested versus just playing games. But usually I just span out the follow-ups until the point where you get like, okay, this isn't happening. You know? Don't let it deter you. You stay like if you follow up the day after and they don't reply, don't worry about it. It's like
move on to the next thing.
Just move on to what you need to focus on in the next thing, and that's for all projects.
And then I think also, even if you don't get a response, still focus on investing in yourself. Again, if you're a musician, free content like Diaz said, handing stuff out, or if you're a visual artist, or look for ways that you can. I want to say put positive things out into the universe to get maybe some positive things back, but like to produce art and produce things that you may not monetarily benefit from right away, but will work on, for one, getting your name out there, two, establish you as the expert in whatever field it is that you're pursuing, so that when people say, oh, well, I need this and that, you will come to mind, which can also assist in proving your credibility as well. And then number three, just investing in yourself. Like keep producing.
One key thing to keep in mind, especially when it comes to after having the pictures and stuff like that, is that even you'll get a vibe when you have a meeting with somebody, or you put something out there. Whether if it's Facebook, or social media, you'll get feedback, or you should solicit feedback. Even in a physical meeting, you should solicit feedback. So even if, let's say you're in a meeting and you know it isn't going to go anywhere, right? Or like they're not interested at the time. Any other things that they say is, okay, what did you like or what didn't you like about the pitch? How can I improve? What things I need to do? And you go back to the drawing board and you just modify that and modify that and modify it. It's like if you're pitching the same thing and you're not really paying attention to what needs to change or why they didn't go with that, then you just lose, and you lose a lot of energy doing that as well. But if a meeting isn't go to, or even if it's your first pitch, say what you think about. Be open with them, and they'll respect that too. It's like, what do you think about this pitch? What could improve? What wasn't clear? And then improve your proposal from there.
I usually ask, is there anything about my pitch that would prevent you from assisting me in some way, like, try to make it sound a little bit prettier. But yeah, I fully agree with you. That immediate feedback can be extremely effective moving forward. So seek that as much as you can.
And even if you ask that, you might get some weird cases too where they might not go for it, but if they see you're asking about it, it'd be like, I like, it shows the character of what you're trying to do. And it's like, you know what, I may not be able to do 5,000.
Let me do it slow too.
Yeah, let me do it 200 and a Snickers bar.
Right. That goes to, speaking of being able to kill your babies, because when I say kill your babies,
please explain that.
Yeah. So the baby with the bathwater?
Why are you killing children? Why?
Being able to let go of ideas that you might have been working on that pitch on the idea for years. Yes, you have to be able to let that go, because if the market is not there for it, and you're going to the people that you feel have the expertise to tell you that's what the case is, then you have to be able to evolve and move on.
And sometimes
it's very difficult for people to let go of their babies.
Yeah.
Sometimes consider changing the market as well, because sometimes, you have an idea that may be before its time, and it's not accepted wherever you're at. Go somewhere else.
Lonzo Ball.
Huh?
I mean LeVar Ball. Actually.
LeVar Ball. Oh, you mean with the what was that again? With the shoes?
Well, he's basically trying to cut the middleman of Nike and those out of and make the.
When I first came, I was like, why is he selling like $450 shoes?
Yeah.
But in that context, it's like, okay, I kind of see where he's trying to go with that.
Yeah, it's changing the game, sadly.
Well, especially not even knowing that to me is like not knowing what the pay down is, and that's also a part of getting the funding for you as well. It could also be a counterbalance where.
Sorry, go on. Finish the thought.
It also be a counterbalance where like someone wants to give you money, but they want creative control of your project. Okay, you might be getting paid, but what are you sacrificing?
Sorry about that, guys, but the broadcast was interrupted. So can you please repeat what LeVar is trying to do with his shoes? My apologies.
Oh, he's just trying to he's trying to take away the power that the shoe companies and whatnot have against the players when it comes, because the shoe companies own all the distribution, all the marketing. They basically propel. They use the athlete's face to propel their machine. So they reap all the majority of the benefits. So
like
what he's trying.
The music industry used to be.
But it still is.
But it still is. At some point, if you could
360 degree deals. They get money from touring, merchandise. Like they take a cut off of everything. So the game changing aspect is him trying to make the athlete the main breadwinner, which is good for the athlete, but it's just. Personally, the way he goes about it is just kind of...
Okay, so you got to be careful how you go about
exactly.
it.
Exactly. Like,
okay.
if you take your money, what's the true cost of that?
Exactly.
As well? It's like, if you get in 30% of your thing for asking the money, who's really winning? Type of those things. But again, that... and we need more... I don't know, it's not a lot, at least off the top of our head, but we need more of those foundations or industries that allow to have grants for those creative projects. Because right now, especially when it comes to businesses, the default thing that people think about is like they got to get a loan from a bank, and that's not necessarily the case all the time.
Yeah, please don't.
But funding is an important part in order to make a lot of these things tangible for a lot of things. So it takes a combination of the hustle of actually getting those different things and not selling yourself short in terms of what you're getting for the money. You want to be fair to yourself. You want to be fair to the investor or funder for the project and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, we've reached our time quota. As Greg would say, we've reached our time. Next week, we actually will have somebody who is starting up a local crowdfunding foundation. It started as a nonprofit organization, but she'll be able to give more details on exactly what it is that they're doing. And they are interested in promoting Bahamian entrepreneurs and projects and stuff like that. So you guys could tune in again next week, and we will speak to her about that.
Boom!
Yeah. Travis, you want to close?
All right. Greg, in memory of you.
Yes, Greg. Not in memory.
In memory.
I know, right? Like, that's so weird. Don't put no bottle, Greg.
Yeah, no Greg. I mean, Greg is...
In your absence, Greg.
In your absence, Greg. Losers make excuses.
Yes. Winners make adjustments.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and peace out. Thanks for joining the show.
Very much. It was fun.
Show is the after show.
Oh, yeah.